Hi, I'm Bob Darty. At Bank of America, we believe that every citizen should be informed about the important issues affecting their lives and their communities. That's why we're proud to support the Caucus Educational Corporation and its production of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at the Newark Museum, a groundbreaking series that will feature some of the very best artistic talent that New Jersey has to offer. We hope you enjoy the series.
Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at Newark Museum has been provided by Bank of America. Life's better when we're connected. PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. Cone Resnick, accounting, tax, and advisory, where forward thinking creates results. University Hospital, Newark, New Jersey. Johnson & Johnson, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department. And by the North Ward Center. Promotional support provided by NJ.com. Small news, big news, true Jersey. And by bestofNJ.com, covering all NJ has to offer.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No. People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
That's a good question. High five.
Welcome to One-on-One here at the beautiful Newark Museum. It is my honor, my pleasure to introduce Christa Clarke, who is the Senior Curator, Arts of Global Africa, right here at the Newark Museum. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Talk about Arts of Global Africa. What are we talking about?
Arts of Global Africa is the collection that I oversee as curator here. It's a collection that started in 1917, so we're approaching the centennial of the collection. It's about 6,000 works of art ranging the whole continent and extending into its diaspora, thus the global and Arts of Global Africa.
What are we looking at right away over here?
The work we're looking at here is one of my favorite works from the collection. It's a, believe it or not, it's a masquerade headdress that would be worn on the head. It weighs over 50 pounds.
No. Wait a minute. 50 pounds?
Yes.
A headdress?
Yes. It's, you know, it's a headdress that is, the artistry is as much in the creation of the work, which is done by a very renowned artist named Bamboye. We know his name. And he, in fact, gave it the title, wow. You can look at it for a complete day, because it's so detailed. It basically represents all these different people that make up a Yoruba community in Nigeria.
What kind of community?
A Yoruba. It's a Yoruba-speaking culture in southwest Nigeria. And that's where Bamboye practiced in the early 20th century.
So when people are here and they're looking at a piece like that, how do you break it down for them so they can appreciate and understand it? People like myself who don't have a background, don't understand, don't have any context. How do you do that?
That's a great question. I mean, I start by, talking about the work itself. I think starting with the work itself, I talk about the name of the artist and the fact that he would have been commissioned by somebody to create the work. I talk about its use. It was a work that was created for a masquerade performance, a performance that would celebrate basically the community, the Yoruba community.
So it's an event,
an event
a
that
festival,
happens
something.
Once a year. I talk about the fact that it would be made to be worn, so somebody would actually wear it on top of their head and perform these acrobatic movements,
Amazing.
Which is pretty amazing. Yeah.
So you have to put it in context for people. Otherwise, they're saying, what am I looking at?
It's important to put, especially with works from Africa, traditional works of African art, you need to put them in context, because the way we see them in museums is very different than the way you would see it in its original context.
Do this for us, because one of the interviews we did that really, I think, pretty sure it's going to kick off this series of one-on-one interviews here from the Newark Museum with Stephen Kern, your leader here, talked about the African art collection. That history is powerful and important. How has it evolved?
Well, we began collecting in 1917. We were one of the first museums to collect African art. Our founder, basically appreciated beauty in everyday works from world cultures. And so,
you mean John Cotton Dana?
John Cotton Dana. And so he began collecting African art as an interest in presenting, the art of world cultures, which was very forward-thinking, because most museums didn't really appreciate African art.
Who was thinking that in 1917?
John Cotton Dana. We're very fortunate.
What a forward-thinking
So our first work of art was from South Africa.
Okay.
And when the museum moved into its first purpose-built building in 1926,
Because you started at the library and came over.
We came over here in 1926.
To Washington Street.
Washington Street.
Right.
And we presented our first African art exhibition in 1926.
What kind of reaction have you gotten over the years? Because it had to be sustained and strong enough to sustain this effort over all these years, to be approaching 100 years.
Well, I think we've always shown African art. We've acquired works of African art. I've been here about 15 years now, and one of the things I've really tried to do is bring the collection up to today and broaden the collection to include modern and contemporary art from Africa, so that our visitors see not only the historical traditions that are important, but also what artists are working on today.
And you actually go to Africa
Yes.
to find pieces.
I do.
And you're expanding it. This is not cheap.
No.
And you're also expanding the space. You're bringing it down to the first floor here at the museum?
Yes.
Why is that significant?
Well, I think right now the African collection, along with the Native American collection, is in a separate building than the rest of the art collection. So bringing this collection down to the first floor, the first thing that our visitors will see leading into the rest of the museum's art collections is a significant move. And it's going to be very exciting to see African art on the first floor. So many museums place it in the basement or tucked away. So I think having it on the first floor and in a new reinstallation that's going to be a fresh interpretation of the collection, I think it's going to be really exciting.
But also the ability to show the works of unknown artists important.
Yes.
Why?
To show the works of African artists?
Yeah, people who are not known.
I think it's important to show the works from Africa because I think many people have certain stereotypes of what they think.
What do you think we think it is?
I think that people think that African art is mostly, masks or figural sculptures. I think they don't have a sense that some of the world's biggest cities are on the African continent. They don't have a sense of where African artists live and create works, the sophistication of their artworks, the depth of the studio programs that exist in Africa. And also the relevance of the historical traditions. So I hope that they'll have a sense of the rich history, but also contemporary activities as well.
I'm curious, why did you get into this?
I came about it through just the pure visual impact of African art. I was studying modernism as an undergraduate and the impact of African art on artists like Picasso and Matisse, and became fascinated with the forms that influence them. When we look at works by a painting by Matisse or a sculpture by Picasso, we're really seeing them borrowing examples of African art.
Is that right?
It is right. It's true.
Because I'm thinking of the limited experience I have. I'm thinking Matisse. Really? African art?
He collected.
It's there. The influence is there.
He collected. Picasso collected. Their sketchbooks show, sketches of the works in their collection, the works in museums in Paris, and they integrated that into their work.
One more, real quick. Jackie, what's it called? Many Came Back. Can we show it and you talk about it?
The work, Many Came Back, is by the Ghanaian artist Ellen Atsui, who he works in Nigeria now, and he runs one of the continent's most important programs for the African art. We collected this work in 2005, and he has since then become an international art star. By the time we collected it, he'd been practicing for 3 decades. This work is made entirely from discarded bottle caps from liquor bottles.
Is that right?
So these were all things that he's found in basically garbage dumps in Nigeria that he's flattened and shaped and created this beautiful shimmering tapestry that looks soft and drapey like a cloth, but actually is made from metal, and taking something that's discarded and no longer valued and making something that's really beautiful.
And it's hard to appreciate it looking at it on television. You have to come down and take a look at it and see it from a 3D perspective, right?
Yes, you have to see it in person. It's beautiful. It's on view in the gallery. It's a spectacular piece.
Dr. Christa Clarke is Senior Curator, Arts of Global Africa, right here at the extraordinary Newark Museum, they've been so great. They've been so great to have us here to do our public broadcasting and FIOS series. Okay. Also, you can check us out on public radio and on digital platforms as well. And thank you for having us here.
Thank you very much.
One-on-one from the Newark Museum. I'll be right back right after this. Thank you.
Visit us online at steveadubato.org. Email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter @Steve Adubato.
I don't get tired of those shots. We're looking at Evonne Davis, Artistic Director of Gallery Aferro, which is located on Market Street in Newark. And it is a fascinating gallery, committed to, dedicated to?
Dedicated to supporting emerging artists and developing an audience for contemporary art.
Now, why do we need such a gallery?
Why not?
I mean, think about it. I mean, in devil's advocate, people say, well, there are all kinds of places where young artists or emerging artists can show their work. That's not really true, is it?
It's not as true in Newark as it is, let's say, in Manhattan, but we need all kinds of art galleries because we need culture in our lives. It makes our lives better. It makes us smarter. It makes us more interesting, inquisitive people.
What's the history behind this place?
Me and two of my friends in art school felt very sort of disenfranchised by the New York art gallery scene and decided,
that right?
Yeah.
Disenfranchised?
A little bit, yeah.
Like there was no place for you?
Like it was a closed system, that it was really a very closed system that was very hard to penetrate.
New York?
Yeah.
Progressive, liberal, open-minded. Not in the art world.
Not in the art world so much, no. It's a very exclusive scene if you're actually trying to make a living or really develop a name for yourself. So we decided we would just make it up as we went along and do our own thing, make it ourselves.
So then how does that turn out to be this gallery?
Well, two of the three partners that started the gallery were from New Jersey. One of them was from Newark. He's originally Portuguese, but he was raised in the Ironbound section.
For those of you who don't know, the Ironbound section of Newark is a community that was at one time disproportionately Portuguese. Now there's still a significant Portuguese population, but it's grown, it's evolved. But the point here is that it was there originally, but now it's in a different location. But talk about the gallery right now. What kinds of artists are we talking about here?
So one of the things that we really set out to do when we started the gallery was make a place for everyone, like really democratic place for everyone. So we pride ourselves in that the artists that we serve are literally of every age range. We worked with artists who are 16 and who are in their 90s.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're from all over. We try really hard to make sure that we work with a lot of local artists, but we also work with local, national, and international artists in almost every single show that we do.
What kinds of opportunities have you seen people get through this process?
Well, one of the reasons to include national and international artists all the time is to assist local artists in expanding their network. So if you're in a show with, let's say, someone from, Brussels, and you make a connection with that person, you've now expanded your own network outside of, the area that it was already into this new sort of area, and you've found somebody that you can collaborate with, partner with, work with, potentially show with in other venues. So that's one of the reasons to try and keep the network net so large, because it serves our local artists.
Let me ask you this. Describe what's going on there in terms of how collaborative it is.
Well, I mean, we work with all sorts of other organizations practically on every project we do. So one of our upcoming projects is a mobile portrait studio. And in addition to working with the Newark 350th Celebration Committee, we will be working with other photographers who've already done portrait projects within the city of Newark. So, we'll be doing a portrait project, but we'll be including, other photographers who've established portrait projects already, and then have an exhibition at the end of the year that includes all of that work. But we've worked with the Newark Museum, the Jersey City Museum, the Hudson Valley Center for Contemporary Art. We've done exhibitions in Detroit, and we've worked with organizations that are smaller than us and much, much bigger than us. So,
I'm curious about this. When did you know that art would be such a big part of your life?
Not until I was an adult.
Come on.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like, you talk to a lot of artists, and they knew when they were like little kids.
I just had somebody here who said, I was in the womb. I was born. I knew. I was 2 years old. I knew. You say as an adult.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I was a troublemaker as a kid. And
Get out of
really
here. You said you were born right up around Woodstock.
Around Woodstock, yeah.
But I was in New York.
Yeah.
What trouble you're making?
Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
And so when did art find you?
When I left upstate and moved to Manhattan, I got a camera, and I started taking pictures on my own.
Was that your art?
Without any training. Up until then, I had written poetry. It was really bad, terrible, terrible poetry. But when I started taking pictures, I realized it was a very powerful tool. And that sort of was then I started studying photography at School of Visual Arts, and sort of it all snowballed from there.
How important is it for you, professionally and personally, to help other artists pursue their passion and make a difference?
It's interesting, like I don't make much of my own artwork anymore, which is fine, because I feel like my mission and my purpose is to help other artists.
Your art is to help artists.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, and it was actually an artist in Chicago who's done some really amazing sort of social practice projects recently that helped me realize that. Theaster Gates, and watching what he's done and realizing that is his creative practice kind of made me realize, yes, that's my purpose. I haven't lost something, I've gained something.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, but it's also amazingly fun. Like, I work with the most interesting people every single day. Like, no day is boring.
But you also have to do the business side. You have to raise money. You have to deal with the finances and personnel issues, right?
Pretty much.
Don't say that's fun. Do not.
Spreadsheets are not fun.
I was going to tell you, because I know it's this part of the job. The art for me is this.
Right.
I will not say I love the money part, the finance part.
Right.
That's the business part of doing what we do.
Right.
But you love the making a difference.
Absolutely.
Right?
I get to go to work every single day and know that not only have I helped an artist or a group of artists, I'm meeting kids, we're having an effect on kids, and we're not hurting anybody. We're not doing anything, in a world filled with sort of corporate greed and, toxic poisons going into the water. And, there aren't that many industries really that one can work for where they can say, we didn't hurt anybody today.
You mean other than public broadcasting? Evonne Davis, I had to get to that, artistic director at the Gallery Aferro. Thank you for joining us.
Sure, thank you.
You're not hurting anybody. Keep doing what you're doing. You're helping people.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We're here at the Newark Museum one-on-one. We'll be right back right after this. You're not hurting anybody.
Visit us online at steveadubato.org. Email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/SteveAdubato, and follow us on Twitter at SteveAdubato.
We are honored to be joined by Gladys Grauer, who is an artist, and she just happens to be known as the mother of Newark's African-American art community, and also happens to be 92 years young, which must mean there's a misprint. Is that correct?
No, it's correct.
It's correct?
It's correct.
And you also are the mother of the African-American art community. Why is that?
Well, that wasn't exactly how I started. I just started out to have an art gallery. It ended up being an African-American art gallery because that's who came to the gallery.
But you're also the first that we know of, the first African-American volunteer here at the Newark Museum. Why are you laughing? That's true.
I'm just happy, that's all.
But back in 1971, you started a gallery.
Yes.
Describe it.
It was in the South Ward on Bergen and Lyons Avenue. And it was a store that was vacant. I had wanted to open a gallery, and it just so happened that this fit, and I decided to open a gallery. But I had no business sense. So I opened the gallery so I would have some place to paint. My house was 4 children, 3 dogs, and not much chance of doing artwork. So if I opened a gallery, then I could go down to the gallery every day.
And what happened?
And what happened is I opened a gallery not knowing that there was a real need for a gallery in Newark. And I opened the gallery, and artists from Jersey City, from East Orange, Montclair, they start all African-American artists because there was not much exhibiting space for them. And one story is Ani Struther said he was riding by on his bicycle, and he saw something, he said, art gallery. And he said, art gallery? So he rode around the block, and he came back, and he came in. And Ben Jones, it was just phenomenal, really.
All kinds of people gravitated,
yes,
came to your gallery.
Yes.
It became a place for African-American artists to feel comfortable, exactly, to show their work.
Yes, and to interact with each other and to make plans. It became a very close-knit group of about 30, 40 people.
Now, you came to us through our good friend, Tony Antoinette Richardson, who works with us in our Stand and Deliver program, yes, who is an artist in her own right, as an educator and an educational leader. Did you know back then that you were a real leader, a trailblazer?
No.
No, you're already telling me no. Come on, you knew you were doing something special in the arts community.
I didn't then. As I look back, you have to realize we were so busy doing things. We were busy organizing a women's art group, and that's a very interesting part because, as I say, I was a mother with 4 children, 3 dogs, a house, and a husband, and little time for artwork. When I opened the gallery, and these young women artists came in, some of them were teachers, and they weren't really painting, but they were artists, and Alita Caldwell had the first exhibit there, and I had to really coax her. Mm. Then Nettie Thomas had an exhibit there, Janet Pickett, and at this point I realized that with women, you have your house, your husband, your children, your job, and they were teachers also. So they had their jobs, and there wasn't much time for artwork. And that's how we formed the Women's Art Group.
The Women's Art Group?
It was actually called Black Woman in Visual Perspective.
Was it a sisterhood, per se? Were you really together?
Yes.
Helping each other?
That's what we did. How do you work it? We decided we would have 4 exhibits a year. And for each exhibit, you must have at least 2 new pieces in the exhibit, which means you had to paint. You had to make art. No matter what your other duties were, this was your 5th duty, is to produce some art.
Can I ask you about some of your work, the work that really stands out for you?
That one is...
it says Lighthouse Community Services.
All right, then. That is my homeless...
Is that with the Lighthouse shelter that I know of?
Yeah, on...
The Reverend Parrott?
On Washington
Yeah, of course,
Street.
I know it well.
Yeah.
You decided that because people would line up looking to get for food because they were homeless.
Yes, and
for a place to sleep, a place to eat, and get. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
So what made you do that?
You see the fellow with the dreadlocks.
Yes.
He's a guy that used to roam around. You know, Newark has some very interesting people roaming around, and he was one that I used to see frequently walking around with all his stuff wrapped on. I have several pieces with people.
Could you put up another one? Put up another one if you have one. What is this?
Oh, that was the Festival of People. I don't remember which year it was. I think it was 87 or something like that.
What connected for you there?
That was a poster.
What connected for you there, the Festival of People?
Well, they asked me to do a poster.
Oh, it was commissioned?
Yes, for the festival. And in that, I tried to get every phase of Newark.
Mm. Let me ask you this. Art. For you. You are, as I said, 92 years young. Were you born to be an artist?
I think I was. I don't know how. I don't do anything else better. I do that best.
But you also organize.
Yes, I did,
Well, no, you've organized in the past.
Yes.
You've inspired.
If you'd asked me if I was going to be an organizer, I would have said no. I didn't know that I could do that.
Or lead. You led.
I didn't know that I could lead. I didn't know people would follow me. I just had ideas, and I passed them on. I shared them.
Okay, I have to ask you this. What are one of the keys? What's the key to great leadership? You did it.
Respect for other people. You have to love people. You have to want to do things with people.
You've always been involved, haven't you?
Yes.
Because? Why are you always involved?
Let's look at it this way. I'm a product of the Depression and the South Side of Chicago. And Chicago, as you know, is a very involved city. And I come from a family which was, let's say, second generation from slavery, but they read. And I heard all kinds of discussions in my house. One I remember very strongly is when Mussolini went into Ethiopia, and my mother and my uncle having this horrible, horrible argument, which he thought it was justified because they were just running around with little bows and arrows anyway. And my mother was objecting because they are people, and et cetera. And I heard these things all through my, it was in my household.
You had to be involved.
That my family was interested in what went on outside of the household.
What's the message you want to leave with everybody right now, particularly young artists?
The message that they should, in Newark, I'm going to deal with Newark.
A few seconds left, go ahead.
Because Newark is has an atmosphere for artists. If you think about all the artists that have come out of Newark, Newark Arts High School was the first arts school, secondary school in the country.
Stay with us a few seconds, folks.
The art school, which was above Newark, the school, was the first post-secondary free art school in the country. The message is, do what you were born to do. For artists, continue to work and to give.
Thank you. Thank you for giving to us on public television. Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. And by the Newark Museum, in cooperation with NJTV and 13 for WNET. Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at Newark Museum has been provided by Bank of America, PSE&G, Cone Resnick, University Hospital, Newark, New Jersey, Johnson & Johnson, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, and by the North Ward Center. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
New Jersey is a leader in solar power, and PSE&G is doing its part. With 24 solar installations in New Jersey, projects that are giving landfills new purpose and turning former brownfields green. Solar powers more than our homes and schools and businesses. It powers our economy by creating jobs right here in the Garden State. PSE&G, proud to support New Jersey.